So I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a cop. Her name was Megan Hall, and it was the police sex scandal. And pretty much, she's suing the police department now. If you're not aware or don't know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna go ahead and share a clip with you right now, and then I'm gonna give you my take.
Protecting me.
By now, most of the country knows what happened. Hall, four other officers, and the police chief were fired last month. This after two separate investigations found that Hall engaged in sexual activity and or shared intimate photos and videos with several male officers. The chief and two sergeants were among those implicated. Now Hall and her attorney, Wesley Clark, are suing those three supervisors and the city in federal court for civil rights violations.
Megan wasn't looked at like a rookie cop to be trained and promoted. She was looked at as a piece of meat to be sexualized and exploited.
Since the story broke, Hall, the lone female officer fired and only woman on the second shift, became a target nationwide for sexual jokes and taunting.
I received harassing and threatening messages on my phone daily. I felt like I had been terrorized.
And yes, now she is.
Okay, so my problem, and we just don't have enough information really. I don't know. But if in two separate investigations, you're caught responsible for not only sharing photos, but also doing these sexual acts, the fact that you go on to sue the department as if like they did something, I find it hard to believe that two separate investigations found you guilty, and what they said was you were also sharing pictures. Because she goes on to say something like they were sharing pictures between each other, um, like the other officers were sharing pictures of her. And I obviously don't agree with that, but you were part of, you were sending those messages to them. It's not like, I just don't understand how this is being taken seriously. And the reason I'm saying this, and you gotta understand from my perspective as a man, if I were to go around and say anything similar to that, people would look at me like I'm crazy. Now, just because I think people would look at me crazy, and I don't even think at this point, I know people would look at me crazy, but just because that's how I feel, it doesn't mean that that's should be the case, right? I can already see that there's going to be some people saying, well, that shouldn't happen to men either. Uh, which, I mean, that's fair. But all I'm saying is, right now, with the way things are, if we would have come out saying something like that, um, we would need a little more proof, right? And maybe that's going to come out because all basically like she's claiming that that was her boss. Her bosses were pretty much forcing her to do it, and that's the real issue of the problem. If that's the case, if the boss is coming out and he's making you do it, and then the people under, you know, you can't do anything about it, your livelihood, and just she said she had nowhere else to go. She had a husband at home. I don't understand why you wouldn't go talk to your husband about it. I don't know why you want to be a cop so bad that you're willing to go through something like this, because that's where my head goes. I'm like, well, you have a husband. You could have went to him. And also, like, again, maybe this is my perspective as a man, but nobody is going to convince me to do something uh sexual for my job. I'll quit before I do anything like that. Um, now, again, I have to caveat. If your job is your sole income, I completely understand being put in a crazy situation like that. But to me, the amount of damage it's going to do to you, your family, and your reputation is not worth it. Uh, I would say lose the job, every time. Or report it, or do both, report and quit. Um, Another thing that seems to be the main part of the issue is harassment and the threats. I don't care. I don't believe in harassing someone or threatening. I don't think she deserved all that. But you got to expect people are going to mean the shit out of it if you cheat on your husband with the whole workforce, and then people find out he stays. Now this might be why. If he's on your side and completely believes you, that's him. Uh, but I don't know. I don't necessarily believe everything she's saying. But she knows this as well, and she knows these are going to come up. And so I'm really interested to see what those two investigations come out, because I feel like that should come out in the court case of like what exactly was she doing. Because if we find out that she's over here sending pictures and doing this of her own, like on her own, and now she's trying to claim after the fact that, oh well, they were my supervisors and whatnot. I mean, your supervisors still get those guys should still get fired, regardless of if she was willing to do it or not. Um, it's misconduct. But uh, if she's just lying so she can keep her family home safe, um, and like, and when I say her, I don't mean like literally keep her family safe. I mean like if he realizes that she was actually doing this on her own, he's going to leave her. I don't see any man who would stay. I mean, some men might, but most men are going to leave you. So if he truly he's holding on to the to trusting his wife. I can respect that. Uh, but I'm just curious to see if it comes out because I don't see a police department seeing all those messages and then firing the woman if in those messages you can see a clear um, representation of convincing, forcing, um, like threatening her job and her livelihood. I don't understand. I don't think the department would then go in and fire her, and then that wouldn't come out. Uh, but we're gonna have to see. I think I'm gonna roll one more clip just to show you that I think this problem has more to do with the harassment she got than what actually happened at the police office.
Yes, now she is suing. No criminal charges have been filed in the case. Hall knows there are those who will say she was a consenting adult who willingly participated in sexual antics in violation of police department policy, and that now she wants to blame others, including one sergeant who targeted her early on.
I know what most people are saying. You could have said no. I get it. But my response to them is that I did say no, and he wouldn't take it for an answer. Eventually, I gave in from pressure.
So it's not as easy to say she could have just said no.
She did say no on several occasions. Miss Hall tried to get out of this relationship, and she was not allowed to.
Hall concedes she participated under duress. She's not saying she was raped, but adds that the salacious details made public of sex on the job put her alone center stage and do not tell the whole story.
They isolated me, they shunned me, they accused me, and they blamed me for becoming a victim.
Hall suffered from depression to the point of considering suicide and at one point was hospitalized. She felt trapped.
My supervisors worked together to take advantage of my vulnerabilities and my mental health. And they used it for their gain and sexual pleasure.
And that included the police chief, Chip Davis. The independent investigation found he was aware of what was going on and even received intimate photos and videos of Hall.
Who do you even turn to when the chief of police is sexually harassing you? How could I get justice when the entire system, including the chief, not only condoned such behavior, but participated in it? I was lost and I felt alone. I had no one to turn to, and I had nowhere to go.
Hall now realized.
Part of me feels bad because I want to believe, um, but like to for what she's suing for, there has to be like for what she's saying with all the messages and everything. If what she's saying is true, then they should be able to prove this easily. And here's what I'm going to say. If these were true to me, like you would leak those messages already. Now, um, I think time will tell because we're gonna find out the result of this case eventually. And then I bet you some of that is going to get leaked. But for me, what I would need to see is something uh showing that like they coerced her or forced her. And that's all I would need to see for me to be like, okay, yeah, that's you shouldn't have been fired. Laverne should have helped you, and you should get the money or whatever you're gonna get through this. Um, but I mean, we'll have to see. I think something else um that needs to be mentioned is regardless if you think she's telling the truth or not, I think the harassment from the initial incident um did have an effect on her. Later they go on they talk about how she went into depression and then she and got hospitalized for suicide. Now, I'm not saying this is a reason for her to lie, but what I'm saying is the damage to her mentally is done. So like I'm never going to I can think what I think, but I'm never going to encourage harassing someone or anything of that nature. Um, especially if they've already been hospitalized for almost killing themselves. So just, try to when you're talking about this, try not to be so uh reactive and crazy judgmental and don't even if you do have your opinions, don't directly message her. You don't know the full story yet. We don't know the full story yet. And even if you find out, I still think it's too much. It's just too much to be able to go and do that to someone. Um, but that's all I have to say. Um, I'm waiting for more to come out, but I'm skeptical. Thank you for watching. If you've gotten this far, I appreciate you for watching. If you want to see more content, and you liked what you saw, we have a part-time kids channel. I'll put the description below. We also have our podcast, which is the videos are on this channel, but if you want audio only, you can go to Spotify and just search um, part-time rambles, or that will also be in the description below. We also stream. You can go to my stream down there, um, twitch.tv/stuffums. Um, Other than that, that's all I have to say. If you have if you disagreed with anything I said today in this video, please go ahead and leave some comments down below. I would like to see how far off my perspective is compared to yours, or if I'm right there with you. Also, I'm going to start putting songs of the day below, um, the songs that I like that make me feel better, and I think it'd be cool to share that with you guys. All right, bye.